What up, everybody? I'm Tiffany, and I am dressed like this today because I will be doing a review on The Vampire Diaries. The books, not the actual series on TV, though probably I'm going to be making a lot of comparisons, so let's just call it series/book review. So for those of you who are joining me for the first time ever, I would like to let you know that I don't dress like this on a normal basis, alright? It is Vampire Diaries exclusive, so this is very rare that you will see this beautiful lipstick on me. Oh, I wanted to show off something really quickly before we began, because I'm really proud of this, so hold on really quickly. Look, it's Ian's summer holder. He's Damon. And there was a Vampire Diaries convention here. And I went and I got it signed and he kissed it too. And I wanted to show it off because it was related and it's gorgeous. Hi, Damon. The Vampire Diaries. So you're probably like, Tiffany, out of all the books and everything that you've been reading lately, why in the world are you picking up the Vampire Diaries? You have Mortal Instruments series you have to finish, you have Throne of Glass, bunch of other amazing books. Why Vampire Diaries? Well, I'm gonna tell you a little story. So it's story time! About 2 years ago, I started watching the Vampire Diaries show. I'm a big fan of the show. It's fantastic. If you haven't watched it, watch it. I don't care if you're like, it's Twilight. It's not. It's better than Twilight. At least the series is better. The books, we'll get into that. What happened was, after I decided watching it, I found out it was a book series. And me, whenever I see a movie or a TV show that I know is based off the book, I'm gonna go buy that book. Because usually, the books are kind of better than the series or the movie. Because the movies and the TV series can't have every little detail that you want in there. And the books just add so many extra things. So I went out and decided I was gonna read it. One of my best friends, Krista, hi! She told me that she read the first book way back when, and she didn't really enjoy it. But I decided to read it anyway just because I'm so easily entertained and I can like a lot of stuff that people just absolutely despise for some reason. It's weird. It's very weird. I went out and got the first and second book on my Kindle. Now this is what happened. I read them, and in the middle, I was like, these are okay. They're not horrible, but they're not fantastic. But when I looked back on them, I didn't really think of them really fondly. They just didn't hit me the right way. And I decided I was gonna stick with the TV series and probably just forget about the rest of the book series. But then you're probably like, then why do you have the third and fourth and fifth book, which you can't see, on your shelf? Because while I was in the middle of reading the second book, my parents were super duper 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 nice and got me the third, fourth, and fifth book, because this one's a combination, it's the third and fourth together. That's what ended up happening, and I've had them on my shelf ever since. And since they were a present, especially from my awesome, amazing parents, I decided to read them because I felt like I owed it to my parents for picking these books out for me. So I decided I was gonna give it a second chance. Who knows? Maybe the third and fourth will get way, way better. You never know. Some series, it takes a little while for it to just take off and become amazing. Look, I have the fifth book. I am gonna be reading it because the completionist in me is like, I have to finish it. So today I will be doing a review on the third and fourth book. But that's my story time and why in the world I'm doing a review on this. So, I will talk about the third book first. Duh. For people who are non-spoilery, like don't want to be spoiled at all, I'm gonna tell you the ratings at least. The Fury got a 3.57 on Goodreads. Dark Reunion, which is the fourth book, got a 3.55. Now I'm going to tell you my policy because overall I wasn't a huge fan of this book. There were elements in it that I liked, and I think it was more that the writing style really threw me off. I don't know why. It was very simplistic, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I've read a lot of books that have a very simplistic writing style, but I think because the phrasing sometimes was really weird, and a little bit cheesy for me that I couldn't really completely get into it like I really wanted to. And I think L.J. Smith is amazing for creating this whole entire world that's been a phenomenon, you know, on TV and everything, and even in the books, because this has so many fans. This has like 13 books in the series, guys. They were okay. They were okay. They had elements of it that I actually wish they had in the show. Overall, I do like the show a lot better. I always will tell you my philosophy, though, with books and movies that I might not particularly like. I'm not saying don't ever read this, don't ever watch it. Go ahead and read it. Go ahead and watch it, because for all you know, you'll end up loving it. And I just was a person who ended up not liking it. So I always say give it a chance, because there are so many movies and so many books out there that I've read or I've watched, and everybody hated them, and I absolutely loved them, and they were great, and I don't understand why everybody else hates them so much. Give them a chance. It goes by quickly. It's not like I'm cringing at every page. Also, I think another element that maybe played into it, for people who maybe read the books and watched the show, you can let me know. The book is very different from the TV show. You have some of the same characters. There are characters in the book that don't even exist in the show. I think maybe that had an impact. Like, if I read the books first, maybe I would have liked the books and hated the TV show because it was so different. Though it has Ian Somerhalder. This dude. It's hard to hate a show with Ian Somerhalder. I could have loved the books first if I had read them first and not have liked the TV show. I don't know. You tell me, people who maybe have read the books first. For people who have no idea what in the world I'm talking about, like, what's Vampire Diaries? First of all, watch CW, please, because that's a great channel. That's where it's located. Find it. It has superhero shows too. Check it out! Vampire Diaries basically follows this girl named Elena who lives in a town. In the show it's called Mystic Falls. In the book it's called Fells Church. And a mysterious stranger comes while she is there named Stefan. Stefan, if you haven't guessed by the title, is a vampire. So please don't like write this off and be like, it's a copycat of Twilight. It's not. That's basically what it's about. I can't really tell you a lot. Your main characters, I guess, would be Elena, Stefan, Damon, Bonnie, Caroline, Tyler, and in the books, Meredith. Meredith is a character that is not in the TV series. Besides that, I can't really tell you a whole lot without completely going spoilery crazy, and I really want to get into this because I have 2 books to plow through, okay? Doing 2 in 1. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to cut the non-spoilery section here. If you have watched the show and don't want to be spoiled for the books, then I suggest you leave. If you've read the books and maybe haven't watched the show and you don't really want to be spoiled for that either, I suggest you leave also, just because I have no idea exactly what I'm going to be saying about the show, and I don't want you to be spoiled when you really thought you weren't going to be spoiled for the TV show, because it's mainly about the books. If you're not caught up with the show, I don't know. You can stick around, just, you know, don't yell at me if you're like on season 3 and I say something from season 5. I'm sorry. Thanks, non-spoilery people, for joining me. Come back when you've read the books or watched the show, and we'll compare and contrast together. Alright, goodbye. Don't get bit by a vampire. Good job. Bye. The 3rd book in the series is called The Fury. There are a lot of elements in this that I actually did really like, but there are a lot of differences that I didn't really like. First off, the story starts out with Elena being a vampire. That's right. After 2 books, this girl is changed into a vampire already. And I felt like that was a little rushed. But I don't know, because she becomes a vampire at the end of the 3rd season, and she's a vampire in the 3rd book, but she's a vampire at the beginning of the 3rd book, and at the end of the 3rd book, it's a little bit ahead of the game. It starts out, she wakes up, and she has this whole thing where Stefan and Damon are fighting because Stefan thinks that Damon is the one that killed Elena. She ends up actually attacking Stefan, and you're really confused, but it's just because of her bloodlust and everything. She thinks she's in love with Damon, which is fine with me. She ends up regaining control of herself and realizes she really loves Stefan, and Damon has absolutely no chance whatsoever. Woo! Fun! Just the whole story structure itself is just really different. First of all, with the love triangle, I'm not really sure how to feel. Stefan's kind of annoying. He's very annoying, actually. And I just feel like it's not really a love triangle in the books. I mean, I'm only on the 3rd out of like 13. I just feel like in the show, when Elena becomes a vampire, that's when Damon really gets a chance to be with her, and they end up together. And she ends up breaking things off with Stefan. In the book, when she's a vampire, she's still with Stefan. There's like this one moment where she says, I love Damon, but that's just after she turned into a vampire, and she's crazy at that point. Damon has no chance after that. I'm just like, this, I want a love triangle. I just wanted Damon to have more part in this, and I feel like he didn't. I wanted Damon and Elena to have more moments. The characters overall are really different. Bonnie and Meredith are Elena's 2 best friends. Caroline is actually Elena's enemy, which is interesting until the end of the 4th book, but we'll get into that later. And it's like the personalities that they have in the books, they change for different characters of the show. So like Bonnie in the books is like Caroline in the show, and Bonnie in the show is like Meredith in the books. Is that confusing? You guys are probably like, who the heck is Meredith? Meredith is a whole character that exists in this book that doesn't exist in the show. And I'm gonna tell you one thing, I actually really liked Meredith, and I kind of wish she was in the show. I don't know why, I just really like her character. I wanted to know what would happen with Meredith. This is like one thing maybe that keeps me reading, is because I want to see what happens, especially with her character, how important she really becomes. Because right now she's one of Elena's main people, but I don't know if she ends up becoming supernatural eventually or something like that. Who knows? There's a relationship that we need to talk about that happened too, that I do not like. And that is between Meredith and Alaric. Yeah, you heard me right. Meredith and Alaric. Meredith is 17, Alaric is 22, and he's the teacher. And they are together. They are together. And I'm like, what the heck? And a big thing is like Meredith turns 18 and she's graduating. Alaric wants her to go to Yale, I think. I don't know. But I was just like, what? No. Alaric is supposed to fall in love with Elena's aunt, and then Elena's aunt is supposed to die. That's the TV show. One thing I did find interesting was the town's reaction to everything. So in the book, the town's reaction, they all know about the supernatural stuff. They revealed everything, why all these crazy events, which I'll get more into, are happening. They all know why. And it's like they kind of deny its existence even though they know it. And so that's why some people are like, eh. But even later in the later books, Bonnie and Meredith and stuff and everybody are trying to convince them that all this stuff really did happen to protect them. In the show, the town doesn't really know like anything except for the founding fathers people. That's about it. One thing that was really interesting was when Elena became a vampire. In the show, she does die, and her main friends know about it, but nobody else in the town knows about it as far as I know. Am I wrong? In the book, it's not like that. I'm holding this upside down. In the book, it's not like that. She dies, but everybody knows that she died, and they can't find her body. So she has to hide around in the town with Damon and Stefan, and it's so, like, weird. So let's get to a couple of the things that I did actually really like in this book, though. So one plot point element that I really liked was this whole thing with the animal. In the book, Elena's at her funeral watching secretly, everybody saying all these wonderful, sweet, kind things about her. And all of a sudden, all these dogs that belong to all these people are outside. And somebody tries to approach the dog, and the dog snaps at them. And so all the animals basically attack them, and nobody knows why. And these are domesticated animals and everything. I really liked that. Like the moment where Elena is with her sister, her little sister has the kitten, and Elena sees that the kitten's about to like scratch her, and Elena jumps in. Oh my gosh, that moment was like, wait, what the heck? Get the kitten away. That's the first time I'm like, get a kitten away from somebody, because I love animals, and I usually cheer for the animals, but not in this. It's like they went Zoo by James Patterson on this for like 2 minutes. Speaking of animals, I want Damon to have his power that he has in the book. They introduced it in like the first episode and never continued it. Damon can turn into a crow and a wolf and basically transform. That was so cool. I'm like, you can do so much with that. Are you kidding me? You should have kept that. That's awesome! Like, Damon's awesome when he turns into a wolf and protects everybody and protects his brother. I'm like, go Damon, be the wolf. I want to talk about the main villain. The main villain in the third book is someone who I thought was fairly obvious, and I just want to know if any of you have read it without like actually seeing the TV show, because I think me seeing the TV show and knowing characters that come into play more, I could kind of figure out who the villains were pretty quickly. This book, the main villain is Catherine. Now, Catherine is Damon and Stefan's old love. I kind of knew she was already the villain as soon as they mentioned this other power. But I'm just wondering, because I feel like I would have not been able to guess it if I hadn't watched the show. Because earlier in the books they mentioned how Catherine loved them both and gave them both her blood, and then they both found out and were really mad that she didn't choose between them. And so what she did was fake her own death. She ended up being with Klaus for a little while and growing hatred towards the Salvatore brothers, because their whole point of her committing suicide in that way was so that the brothers would feel remorse and join together. But what happened was they ended up taking swords and stabbing each other, and that's how they became vampires. Because Catherine wasn't always evil in the books. She started out quite fine, actually, until Klaus. She started hanging out with Klaus. Where in the show, she's been evil from like the get-go. The end scene in the book was really, really good. It was intense. I really liked it. L.J. Smith does her villains like great. I love her villain. I loved Catherine in the book. She was just so manipulative, and you could tell she was kind of crazy. She was fantastic. She might be my favorite character, which is kind of alarming that the villain is my favorite character. Oh, that last scene was just so intense. You had Stefan on one side, you had Damon on the other. Damon's severely hurt, Stefan's pretty hurt, Elena's in the middle, and then the shocking thing happens at the end of the third book. When I read a book, if it's a series and I'm following one main character, I assume they're not gonna die until the end of the series if they're gonna die. Elena, she broke that rule with me. She ends up dying at the end of the third book, like full on dying. I was so confused why is Elena dead? Like, we have 13 more books to go. She's on the covers. That was The Fury. The Fury got a little bit higher rating than The Reunion, which I'm going into next, which is the fourth book. But I kind of liked the fourth book better. And I'm going to tell you why. The fourth book, because Elena is dead, does not follow Elena. It follows Bonnie mostly. I really liked that we weren't having Elena completely throughout the entire story. It really centered around Bonnie, Meredith, Matt. You had Stefan, you had Damon, of course, but it was just nice not it all to be focused on Stefan, Damon, Elena, love triangle. First thing I want to do is I want to give a round for Vicki Bennett, who died in the first season of the show and survived 4 books. So, the Dark Reunion, your main villain in this is Klaus. You also, again, get introduced more to Caroline and Tyler. Caroline, I think, redeems herself by the end. It's just, she's still a jerk, basically. Caroline in the show is just awesome. I love her so much, and I was mad that her and Elena didn't get along at all in the books. But Tyler, that is one character. If I despise any, it's Tyler. In the show, you actually feel for Tyler a little. They make his character really good in this show. In the books, he's pathetic, he's a coward, and he's an awful human being / werewolf. He kills a girl named Sue, has no remorse, and then Meredith sets this whole thing up by going to the graveyard by herself. And what does Tyler do? He follows her, turns into a werewolf in front of her, and basically tries to hurt her and molest her, probably. I have no remorse whatsoever for Tyler. He was just a jerk, okay? I hate Tyler. There, I said it. I hate a character. I hate Tyler. I hate him. I don't hate Klaus. I hate Tyler. Tyler's just pathetic and a coward, runs away whenever he's in trouble. Tyler. A dynamic that's new, but between Bonnie and Matt. And this is another point where I'm like, Bonnie is so much Caroline in the show. Because as you know, early on, Caroline and Matt end up getting together. In the book, it's Bonnie and Matt. They're not together yet, but I'm gonna bet they're gonna get together eventually. Because I can tell Matt cares about Bonnie, and Bonnie cares about Matt. An interesting thing, Elena does not have Jeremy. There's no Jeremy. Which is so sad because I love Jeremy in the show. It's very sad. Okay. Moment of silence for Jeremy not existing. Now Klaus. Another villain that I really like. Klaus was fantastic again. He was a true villain. Loved him. He's crazy. And the guy who plays Klaus in the show, I can picture him so perfectly for the Klaus in the book. It was fantastic. That ending again was super duper fantastic. You had people battling, you had Matt unconscious, you had Meredith's leg hurt, you had Bonnie just frozen basically, you had Caroline in a daze, you have Stefan almost dying, and Damon coming to the rescue. I still love Damon in the book. Damon is still amazing. He's like perfect. Ian Somerhalder is the perfect Damon. He's perfect in the books. He's perfect in the TV show. You go, Ian Somerhalder. But the fourth book, I don't have a ton to say about it like I did the third book because I kind of rushed. Aw, I got lipstick on my finger. I kind of rushed through it for the most part. The ending though was great again. And what happens? Elena is alive again. Hence the fifth book being called The Return. That's really interesting that Elena is back. I didn't know. I figured she might because it's called The Return in the next book. But you never know. She's on the cover too, so you kind of figure. That's basically all I really have to say about these two books. A lot of different dynamics in them. I'm interested to see what happens in the fifth book, so I'm not completely turned off from it. They give the books a chance. I know I said I wasn't a huge fan of them. I'm holding this upside down again. Give them a chance. You might actually really enjoy them. If you haven't watched the TV show, oh my gosh, watch the TV show, please, because it's amazing. And if you hate it, well, don't yell at me and say, Tiffany, you said I was going to love it. I personally think you will love it. Thank you so much for joining me today in my outfit, and Paul Wesley and Ian Somerhalder. I love this shirt so much. It's amazing, and this picture is... I have no words for this picture. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any other book or movie suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. I'll definitely check them out. Might be a little bit before they're actually uploaded, but I'll definitely check them out, and I'll read them, and I'll watch them, and whatever. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, night, whatever time you are watching this video, and don't forget to be awesome. Alright, thanks for joining me. Goodbye.